Voilà. Ça, qui veut pas. Qu'est-ce que vous faites? Ah, mais c'est branché ici déjà. Ah. On doit, c'est ce que j'ai demandé. Vous avez appelé un technicien?
Hello, hello, everybody. How is everybody doing? Kunjani. Yapila, for those of you from the southern side of the Lao. How are you? I can see so many familiar faces as well. My name is Ruvi Goredema, and I'll be your MC today. I'd like to welcome you to the International Day of Women in Mining 2023. How awesome is this? This is the second time around. This second annual event is a momentous occasion to celebrate the achievements, resilience, and contributions of women in the mining industry. Today is a day for reflection and celebration, so pat yourself on the back and get ready for a good time. Before we get things going, because I'm based in Perth, Australia, I wish to acknowledge the custodians of this land from where I speak, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and their elders past, present, and future. We're so pleased to see so many of you here today on Zoom and across all social media platforms. Now, for those of you on the Zoom call, please continue to tell us where you are from in the chat. We can see that we've got some people from Florida, from Egypt. And also, if you notice someone you know is missing and they have a little bit of FOMO, invite them to join us because we're streaming live on YouTube. Also, tell a friend, create a buzz online using the hashtags that have been posted in the chat. Hashtag IDWIM 2023, hashtag equity in mining is everyone's responsibility, hashtag women in mining, hashtag gender in mining. Any more hashtags? Put them in, we don't mind. Share the fun, all right. Now, of course, with every meeting, as COVID has told us, there are house rules. Right? So please note, these apply for the participants in the Zoom call only. We ask that you stay muted at all times to avoid noise while others are speaking. Also, if you can please activate your camera. The idea is to see each other and share IDWIM together. I want to see your gorgeous smiles and your gorgeous outfits. If you can also please change your screen name so that we know who you are. All questions and comments will be moderated in the chat. We will answer all of your questions and comments after the event. Also note, this is an interactive event. That means we gotta participate. We gotta get in our feelings and get into the chats. So if you will be asked to answer questions, to register, to win prizes, and lots more. We'll of course be taking screenshots and recording this event for prosperity. And the event recording will also feature on our YouTube channel later. And finally, interpretation. For Spanish and French, please see the icon for your language. That will be located at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Right. Next slide. Right. So we're ready. We've got a jam-packed program prepared for you today. I won't spend too much time here, but I'd like to emphasize that despite the time differences, it's 8 p.m. for me. Most of our guest speakers will be joining us live. And so for that effort, I'd like to really thank them for their dedication to IDWIM 2023. This year, we will again have a dance party break. I was in this dance party last year, I didn't win. This year, I'm going to be watching, so prepare to dance your heart out to win great prizes, and we hope you all join in the party from wherever you are. Next. We want to thank all the organizations that have supported this initiative so far and made today possible. We'd like to thank IDWIM ally Sandvik, IDWIM champion, World Gold Council, I Am Gold, New Gold, Kinross, IDWM Advocates, Albemarle, Brim from UBC, Hatch, Centerra Gold, Central Asia Metals, Eldorado Gold, Weir Esco and Cogear, and IDWM supporter Bettel. Today, as your master of ceremonies, queen of ceremonies. Yes, that sounds right. I want a crown with jewels for the mining industry. Please don't tell people I said that I'm the queen of ceremonies, all right? That's false advertising. I'd like to take a moment, though, to reflect on the rich history of this important day. Since its inception last year, IDWM had 1,000 participants from 82 different countries. The total participation that was there as well included men, and 10% were men. So IDWM has grown in significance and influence. Each year on June 15, we gather to commemorate this day and renew our commitment to fostering gender equality and inclusion in mining. With a new theme guiding our discussions and initiatives each year, IDWM has become a platform for dialogue, collaboration, and action. This is the space where we make things happen. Through its global reach and advocacy efforts, IDWM has inspired multitude of initiatives, from mentorship programs and leadership development to promoting safer work environments and equal opportunities. It has provided a stage for sharing success stories, amplifying voices, and shining a bright light on the immense potential that lies within the women of the mining industry. Today, we convene virtually from all corners of the globe under the theme, Equity is Everyone's Responsibility. I'm going to say that louder for the people in the back. Equity in mining is everyone's responsibility. A diverse and inclusive mining industry is not just about fairness, it's about unleashing untapped potential, broadening perspectives, and enhancing productivity. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, friends, everyone gathered here, we are here to celebrate the notion that equity in mining is not just everyone's responsibility, but that gender inclusion can be one of the industry's most valuable assets. Let us also remember the remarkable journey that has brought us here. Let's celebrate but let us also recognize that there's still work to be done. Together, we have the power to shape an industry that truly values and supports the aspirations of women in mining. So let's embark on this conference with passion, purpose, and an unwavering commitment to advancing gender equality. May our discussions today ignite inspiration, foster collaboration, and pave the way for a future where every woman in the mining industry can thrive and contribute to its prosperity. Thank you, and I don't have a drum roll, but let the International Day of Women in Mining Conference begin. Now, I'd like to welcome our 2022 IDWM Campaign Ambassador, Laura Tyler, with over 30 years of international mining experience. Laura understands firsthand that the outstanding role of women and also the outstanding role of all people and the challenges that women face in the industry. Laura is BHP's Chief Technical Officer based in Australia, and she's a passionate advocate for change, driven to help continue the industry on its trajectory of inclusion and diversity. Thank you, and over to you, Laura.
Thank you so much, Queen Ruby. What would we be without you? So thank you. Welcome everybody to this great second International Day of Women Day of Women in Mining. A day, as we've just discussed, dedicated to celebrating women in our industry, empowering women to share their passion, be their passion, but also to commemorate the industry's achievements on gender inclusion, but also want to recognize the work that we still have to do. We haven't finished, we've still got work to do. Every year on this date, 15th of June, we will celebrate to come together to honor the pioneers who paved the way, the ladies and the men on whose shoulders we stand, the women who are now working across the mining industry value chain, but also those who will be joining the sector in the future. How do we build the culture and the society that we want them to be a part of? Everyone, everywhere is invited to this journey. As Ruby said, the theme this year is equity in mining is everyone's responsibility. And at BHP, we've seen the benefits of inclusion in our business, and it's critical to our success. And the numbers really stack up. Where there is diversity, the teams are safer and they're more productive. And I'll be honest, it's a much more fun environment to work in. Within my team itself, I run, as Ruby said, the technical group for BHP. We're all scientists, we're engineers, we're technologists. So we like numbers. So we set ourselves some targets, and we've been working hard at what are the pieces of the programs that we have to put in place to close that gap. The technical execution program is a piece of work that's provided an avenue for technical women to reach, and how do we make sure that we're bringing them back into the workplace? But the key metric of the program was to say we would have a retention rate, was measuring the retention rate at completion of the program. We have a 95% retention rate. And this has been one of the levers that we've pulled really hard over the last 12 to 18 months to get a female participation rate in my team of over 40% women, which is higher than it's typical for STEM industries. And I didn't think we'd get there so soon, but it's something that we've worked really, really hard on. So we know that when we're deliberate, when we're consistent, when we all step up and tackle equity in the workplace, remove what we perceive to be barriers, head on, tackle them and remove them, we can make a difference. And our community, our people, our women all reap the benefits of doing so. And our data inside BHP and across the industry, if you look at all the different mining groups, the data clearly shows that our inclusive and diverse teams outperform and deliver safety benefits. They have a better culture, are more productive, and it makes us better. So I have had an awesome year this year as the ambassador for International Day of Women in Mining. The numbers of different people that I have met has been amazing. And I'm really, really pleased to be able to hand the baton on as the IDWIM ambassador to Mpumi Zikalala from South Africa. I'm speaking to you from Chile in Santiago. It just goes to demonstrate the span of this day. I'm really looking forward to listening to her keynote. But what was amazing was we met a few days ago, and I feel like I have known her forever. She was one of the warmest, most open and engaging women that I have met in a long time. So I think we're going to have a really great keynote, and I'm really looking forward to not only hearing from Mpumi, but also from all the other speakers on the panel. So welcome to today. This is year 2, and I think we will have an amazing event. And thank you to B and the team for organizing and looking after us for the last year. So been a great set of organization. Welcome, everybody. Have a great day and just be your passion. Awesome. Go for it, ladies.
Oh, man, thanks for your words, Laura. Look, you heard it from the expert herself. Diversity is fun. It gets us to outperform others, makes us better, and increases retention rate. What more convincing do we need? So thank you, Laura, for those words. And as we hear, you're all invited to join us to work collaboratively towards a better mining industry. So share your ideas and comments in the chat as the speakers talk. Now, I did mention something about prizes earlier, and personally, I am a liker of things. So let me show you what we have in store today for you and how you can win. We have two very kind sponsors who've donated great prizes for today. The first prize that we have is CoGear, a company based in Australia, founded by Kim O'Leary, who was inspired to create the world's first maternity high-vis range after witnessing her pregnant manager struggling with ill-fitting workwear. Practically makes no sense. CoGear's mantra is that women should never be uncomfortable at work. I think that's a mantra we should take on for life. Women should never be uncomfortable. CoGear offers a comprehensive range of workwear for women that addresses the unique needs of their changing bodies. And as such, they are giving, hold on, wait for it. It's coming, don't worry. It's the anticipation. They're giving away a $200 gift card on their website. So what does this mean? This means there's an opportunity to shop, ladies. There is an opportunity to shop right here. Mahala for free. Let's get that money. Let's enter those competitions. And let's see if you can get that $200 gift voucher. The second prize. Now, I should say, for those of you who'd made New Year's resolutions, the year is still going, right? You wanted to up the knowledge that you have. Well, this prize is for you. It's from Brim Mining Education from the University of British Columbia. Now, if you want to learn something new this year, this is your prize. They're giving away not one, not two, but 3 scholarships to the Executive Micro Certificate in Economic Leadership for Mining. I'll say that again. Executive Micro Certificate in Economic Leadership for Mining. This program focuses on the issues faced by a heavily siloed industry by cross-training content, which makes it real stakeholders and students. The courses are taught by Benjamin Cox and Ben Murphy, who we thank for their support of diversity and inclusion in mining through these scholarships. The program starts September this year, so that New Year's resolution can be met September this year. So think about it. In fact, don't think about it. Just there's a form that you can sign up on that's going to be posted in the chat. You're doing this. So I'm going to unpack more how you can win these amazing prizes. On the chat, you'll find a link to the form. Complete the form and be part of the Tombola Wheel of Names. But the caveat is you need to be present to win. So you have to stay and look at my charming face for the next 2 hours to win this prize. During the break, we'll have a dance competition where everyone is invited to dance on screen. Turn on your camera and dance. Easy. Share the celebration with all the women in the mining world. Our conference producers will be watching everyone, and they are the ones who will be choosing the winner. So the criteria is pretty simple. Creativity, energy, and keep your camera on. It is my pleasure to introduce...
Ruby, hi, it's Michael. Can I jump in just a second? I wonder if everybody'd help us, and if you're a participant, would you please mute your microphones? Please mute your microphones. I'm going to go ahead, just as a matter of case, I'm going to mute everybody, and then Ruby, you'll need to mute again. Okay, I think we're good. I think we're good. Thank you.
We're good? Okay, can you hear me?
We hear you fine.
Hear me? Okay, perfect. All right. Well, you know what? That's life. Sometimes we get interruptions, but we keep it moving, right? That's just the journey that we're on. Like in the mining industry, like on a Zoom call, we keep it moving. But in the spirit of being flexible and changing and adapting to adversity, I would like to it's my honor, it's my pleasure to introduce our 2023 campaign ambassador. Now, Laura Tyler did mention her. She did do a little bit of name dropping, but the lady you're about to talk to is Mpumi Zikalala. She is personally committed to accelerating the involvement of women and youth in the mining industry by investing in women at every level. She drives greater representation across the company where she is CEO today. Kumba Iron Ore. Part of Anglo American, she invests in female micro-entrepreneurs and communities and encourages women to study STEM subjects. Now, Mpumi has over 20 years of hands-on operational and leadership experience in mining. She began her career at De Beers as a chemical engineering bursar before becoming the first female general manager at De Beers. I'm going to say that again. The first female general manager at De Beers, then succeeded to the role of deputy CEO of De Beers Consolidated Mines in 2017. Mpumi completed her tenure at De Beers as managing director of the group's managed operations businesses in South Africa and Canada. Over 2 decades of working her way through the ranks at De Beers, she was appointed as CEO of Kumba Iron Ore in January 2022. So guys, give us a warm welcome for Mpumi. Mpumi, thank you for your time. We're very grateful to have you here with us today. And over to you.
Thank you so much, Ruby. I have to say that you are indeed the queen of ceremonies. Please don't change it, claim it, it fits, it's absolutely awesome. Hello, everyone. I like greeting in other languages. So, bonjour, hola, dumelang, ni hao, sanibonani, hawari. You can add your language. I hope that all of us are excited about today. I have to say that I'm personally excited simply because we are going to be focusing on a topic that is very close to my heart, equity and our collective responsibility to champion it. But before I get there, I have to say that I met Laura a couple of days ago. And Laura, I will echo what you said. And I don't know if it has something to do with, I don't know, I can't say it's female leaders because we're talking equity. But when I met Laura, it was a short call. I felt like we had known each other for years and everything just flowed. And I kid you not, she's going to be in my network going forward. And one of the things that I encourage you to do today is to network a little bit and broaden your network, because this is something that we need to do more of. I also want to acknowledge the incredible work that Barbara and Bea and the rest of the team continue to do to promote women's voices and access to opportunities in the mining industry globally. Barbara and Bea, when I first met them, I was absolutely awed and couldn't help but say, yes, I would like to follow Laura and become the ambassador. For me and for all of us, IDWIM aims to highlight the important role that women play in the mining industry, capturing the intellect, determination, and ambition that we all encompass, as well as the multitude of skills that we have to offer. This year's theme gives us the chance to reflect on how we create a world that values diversity, a world that is free of biases and discrimination against women, and a world that helps everyone bring their whole selves to work. And I've got to underline that. I did not say women, I did not say men, I did not say non-binary, I said everyone, because ultimately, that's certainly the vision that we need to have. Now, in 2017, McKinsey published a study showing that companies in the top quartile for gender diversity on their executive teams were 21% more likely to experience above average profitability than companies in the fourth quartile. So greater diversity in the workplace delivers more results because you get more people, different thinking, and that helps in terms of making you a better business. And I'm going to not just talk about businesses, but I'm going to talk about other stakeholders today. But from a business perspective, thankfully, more companies now increasingly regard inclusion and diversity as a source of competitive advantage, and more specifically, as a key enabler for growth. Well, if businesses become intentional about driving equality, they will see positive results in their performance and the bottom line. But despite this, I'm sure that we can all agree that the progress can be improved. Laura said this a little bit earlier as well. So why are we not as fast as we possibly should be? Why is this the case? And what can we do about this? Well, in reflecting on this, I'd like to share my personal story, which I hope will be useful as we consider how we can collectively champion equity. So as a young girl, I aspired to become a doctor. And that was interesting because I actually grew up in a small mining town of Vryheid. But guess what? I had no intention of being a miner. I did not understand a lot about mining. And to be fair, I only got exposed to engineering, so to knowing what engineers do, in my final year of high school through a career guidance session from a team from Anglo American who came to our school. The idea of women in mining was certainly a new concept to the industry then, have to say very new. Ruby was very kind and said, over 20 years, let's leave it at over 20 years, Ruby. What's a couple of years? Either way, hey, it's okay. So Anglo-American at the time became very intentional about driving equity in the workplace. And that gave me and many other young people the ability to get those bursaries, and they were needed. Because I had a couple of siblings, I have to say, my parents would have struggled taking all of us to school at that point. And in my case, I studied chemical engineering. When I joined the industry, following my years of study, you could not count the number of female engineers that we had at the mine in one hand. It was too much, unfortunately. And I guess you needed a couple of hands to cover the rest of the women in the industry. So there weren't as many of us then, sadly. And for me, I have to say that transitioning into the industry was extremely tough, especially because I came from a traditional Zulu household. So I couldn't really call people by name, and say, Hank, can you please go and do this? I felt like I had to say Uncle Hank or Malumu Hank in my language. And I had to try and fit in. And for me, I adopted a whole lot of things to try and fit in. I'll only share one example. Sadly, I tried to use the swear words to fit in with the guys. And I tried it a couple of times because I felt like, oh, shucks, I'm like part of the team. But guess what? It was emotionally draining and frankly not sustainable because it wasn't me. And more importantly, as a young Zulu woman, I almost used the swear word in front of my mother. And believe you me, nothing humbles you like that because you very quickly remember your roots and remember the things that define you as a person and the fact that you don't want to be like anybody else. So one of the things that helped me circle into my roles was great mentoring and guidance. And I'm sure that many other women would tell you the same thing. I know that Laura told me the same thing. These were wonderful people who frankly were fantastic in saying, you don't have to be like anybody else. You need to be yourself. And I'd like to acknowledge all the wonderful mentors that I've had along the way. I worked for De Beers and I'm now with Kumba. So clearly the bulk of them are part of the broader Anglo-American group. And I know there's many Anglo-American team members that are here. But I have to highlight that many or most of my mentors were men. And I mention this because I do believe in the transformative power of male mentors and sponsors in promoting gender equity and equality. I recall how one of my many mentors, his name was David, gave me greater appreciation for the industry at a particular point in time. And he helped me see the overall impact that mining has on people and on broader communities and broader society as a whole. And he was fantastic in showing me what, from an Anglo-American perspective, is our purpose, which is reimagining mining to improve people's lives. And the truth is that for me, that was the space or the point where I guess I transformed from just being an engineer into the real start of my leadership journey, when I started to look at life slightly differently. And that's part of the reason why I stayed in mining. For me, all my mentors are a powerful reminder to all of us that gender equity is not just a woman's problem. In fact, championing gender equity is a shared responsibility for all of us. Today at Anglo-American, our commitment towards equity is demonstrated by our inclusion and diversity initiatives and women in mining programs, very much similar to the wonderful ones that I've seen in other companies. Does somebody want to help? I can hear the two of us. Oh, thank you. As well as a representation of women in senior leadership roles, including 2 leading our South African-based listed companies, and I'm one of those. And Natasha Viljoen leads our Anglo-American Platinum business. So let's also not forget that creating opportunities and equity for women to reach their full potential has a ripple effect that benefits the whole of society. Different countries call it different things. In South Africa, people say you empower a woman and you empower the nation. I know that I've spoken about what companies and individuals can actually do to advance women in the workplace, but let's remember that we must change the whole of society to make it more equal. So government should create conducive policies. Unions must champion women, and communities must hold us to account to deal with all the other gender-related challenges, especially gender-based violence, which, as we all know, increased very sadly during COVID. That's my story, and I've given you a snapshot and told you one story. But for me, what I hope we see is the fact that a person who grows up knowing nothing about what mining really does, knowing nothing about engineering, entering an industry and learning from others and being supported by others. And I'll say it again, the bulk of my mentors as I developed were men, which essentially means that all of us have got a role to play. Clearly, I have female mentors as well and female friends as well. I want to acknowledge the progress that mining has made to drive equality, demonstrated by how dramatically companies have changed. But even after 2 decades of progress, there's still more work to do. Just a couple of wonderful examples. Let's just look at technology, which has become one of our best allies and has transformed jobs that were previously seen as physically challenging or dangerous for women. Well, technology has made those jobs easier for everybody. It essentially means that everybody can do those jobs. And more importantly, it's also made them safer as well. As mining has become more mechanized, physical strength and stamina are becoming less important than fine motor skills, dexterity, and other problem-solving skills. And there's many other skills that are required because clearly we look at the whole of what's required. This has made the sector more attractive to women. A great example for me, and I'm sure we'll agree, is that the introduction of remote controlled rooms at our mines, for example, also allows women to operate an entire mine without the need to physically be there. And that has a great benefit around us making progress with regards to the employment of differently abled people, because it shouldn't matter where you come from. It should be equal for everybody. If I look at some of the companies, guess what? You can now mine using heavy machinery from the comfort of a desk, irrespective of whether you are heavily pregnant or not. And surely that's something that was just previously unimaginable. But we'd all have to agree that this is absolutely amazing because it's made the world more equal for everyone. And we need to do more of this as we drive for equity. And again, it's not just the mining companies. All the stakeholders have got to play a role when it comes to this. So as I close, I'd like to challenge us to think about the role that all of us need to play to drive equity. We must eliminate barriers to entry for women, as well as the physical and psychological challenges that women face in their mining careers. And again, it's not just women. Laura said it. I liked what you said, Laura. Diversity is fun. And I like working with people that are different from me. My team at Kumba is absolutely wonderful because they are different people. They think differently. And all of us energize each other. As leaders and colleagues and companies, we must inspire others beyond our businesses. And more importantly, enthuse the next generation to want to join our industry. We need them. Mining is here to stay. As businesses, we need to shape an enabling culture, develop talent, and create safe spaces for all our people to thrive. I want to close with a story from my sister and a fellow leader in Anglo-American. Her name is Nolita Fagute. She wrote a book around this. She says that women need to wear different shoes for different occasions, but these must be your own shoes, not somebody else's shoes. It's a metaphor for how we consciously utilize different facets of our personalities for different situations. Key, this must still be your own individual personality. Don't try to be somebody else. So if you're a woman in mining, wherever you may be, I'd like to implore you to stay true to yourself. You're okay. You are more than okay. You are fantastic. Ultimately, this is what true gender equity is all about. It's about women showing up, owning their spaces, and being who they are without any constraints, prejudices, and biases. This is a vision which we must all work towards. But let's remember, equity is everyone's responsibility. We all have a role to play. And I'd like to urge you yet again to think about your role and play that massive role. We need it. Thank you. I'll hand over back to you, Ruby.
Thank you so much for those wonderful words, Mpumi. I mean, there is so much that we can elicit from that. One of the key messages there is bring your authentic self and your whole self to the workplace. Diversity is fun. We all want to work with different people. So thank you so much for that. So as we are a moving train and we have got to get through a lot of content, that's so many speakers, so many gems of wisdom, I'd like to, on that note, introduce our next keynote speaker who recorded her message in a short video that we will share with you. Melanie Cooper, the head of Equality, Inclusion and Diversity, and leads the Everyday Respect Task Force for Rio Tinto. Mel is passionate about creating an environment where people can have equal access to opportunities and achieve their full potential. Besides holding degrees in psychology, education, and HR. Mel has worked across Canada and Australia at Rio Tinto in construction projects. Before working at Rio Tinto, Mel worked in elite sport and for the Queensland Police Service. We're grateful she's part of this day, and over to you for the video.
Hi, my name is Mel Cooper. I lead Equity, Inclusion and Diversity at Rio Tinto. And today, the 15th of June, is International Women in Mining Day. So this is a chance for us to celebrate the women who are in our sector today, as well as acknowledge the women who've previously been in our sector and laid the path for those today. We all have a responsibility to help smooth the path for those who follow us. This is also a chance for us to, as an industry and as individuals, reflect on what we can do as actionable initiatives to really drive a more sustainable, diverse and inclusive mining industry. Equity in mining is everybody's responsibility. And it's really important that to acknowledge when we understand how we can showcase gender inclusion, we can actually unlock one of the greatest assets the industry has to ensure long-term sustainability. If you're watching this video today as a man, then thank you for stepping in to support women. We need support to help change our industry, and I cannot understate the role of allies along the way. If you're watching this video as a woman, whether it's First Nations, a Black woman, Asian woman of Asian heritage, neurodistinct, disabled woman, white women, or any other form of intersectionality, thank you for how you contribute to our sector. We know that there is more to do to ensure that all demographics of women succeed in our journey to gender equity. We know it can be hard working in an industry that was historically built by men for men, but in partnership with our allies, we can break down the traditional barriers for full inclusion. We are doing work in Rio Tinto, but let's be clear, the work of everyday respect is about fixing the systems that have historically not been built for us. This is where true equity comes from. I've often said that if the flower fails to bloom, then what is it in the sun, soil and water that's preventing it from becoming all it was meant to be? We don't make change by focusing on the flower. In some parts of the world in which we operate, we're still working to make it safe for people to talk openly or ask for help about the issues that are facing them as women in mining. We're doing work to change our leadership and promotion processes, to fix our facilities, to remove the barriers for diverse people to succeed. It's sad to think that still in 2022, we had women that could not access a toilet or were asked to do a business case in order to get one. We fixed that now. There is much more that we can do in Rio, and we want to help contribute to the broader wave of change because we believe that a rising tide floats all boats. So if you're listening to today's video, please reflect on what is it that you can do that can help someone either at an individual level or a systemic level to feel more included, respected and safe wherever they're working. Thank you. Happy International Women in Mining Day.
Thank you for those words. What a great message. Everyone who's here, who's just entered the chat, please share your thoughts, ask your questions. We'll read every single word and we are making sure that it receives that message. And at this time, we're going to change the gears a little bit. We want to take a moment to commemorate the women who have left a legacy in the people and on the industry. However, they are no longer with us. We thank you for all the submissions of these great women who we will remember today. Please may you play the video in memoriam. Wow, what amazing women. And, thank you for all those submissions and for everyone who took the time to remember these amazing ladies. And as we move on to our next keynote speaker, I'm just going to do a little bit of an introduction. This is a man who aims to change mining from within. Ladies and gentlemen, Ben Chalmers has been working in the mining industry since 2004 and has been involved in environmental management, community engagement, and human rights. At the Mining Association of Canada, MAC, Ben is responsible for the implementation towards sustainable mining and for issues related to corporate responsibility, both within Canada and internationally. He began working in the mining sector at Myra Falls Operations, a zinc and copper mine on Vancouver Island in British Columbia, and he worked there as the environmental supervisor. Prior to joining MAC, he was the Vice President of Environment and Technical Affairs for the Mining Association of British Columbia. Thank you, Ben, for being with us, and over to you.
He is joining in just 1 second.
While he's joining us, ladies and gentlemen, please feel free to share your thoughts about the speakers today and what you've seen. Also, your thoughts about the topic. It's important for us to just keep sharing, to keep integrating all our thoughts together, and that's how we build the industry. All right. Is Ben ready?
I am. Hello.
All right, over to you, Ben.
Terrific.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. And hello, everyone. I'm very pleased to join you today. And just as part of it's our custom here in Canada, and I know many other places, I'd like to make a quick land acknowledgement that I'm speaking to you today from the Anishinaabe Algonquin territory, unceded territory, otherwise known as Ottawa in Canada. And I've got a short presentation here, a couple of slides that I wanted to share with you, just to help illustrate what I wanted to talk to you about today. But I'm getting a message that only host can share. So I might have to do this without slides, but that's okay. It is a pleasure to be here today on for us, an important day, because yesterday our board of directors approved a piece of work that has been 2 years in the making, focused on introducing equity, diversity, and inclusion and respectful workplaces into our Towards Sustainable Mining standard. And there may be a few of you out there that don't know what TSM is. So just very quickly, to explain that, TSM is—
Hang on just a second.
Hello? Okay, I'll carry on. So TSM is a mining standard that we introduced to Canadian mining in 2004. It was the first of its kind at the time, focused on mine site level environmental and social performance, overseen by a multi-stakeholder community of interest panel with independent verification. So in 2004, when we launched it, we were the only people doing that. Today, it's more common with other standards doing the same. But in 2015, we started sharing it internationally. We signed a partnership with the Mining Association in Finland to become our first international partner. It's now in place in 13 countries on 6 continents, being implemented by over 200 companies. And one of the unique things about TSM is that it's the multi-stakeholder oversight. I mentioned our COI panel a minute ago. Comes from a network of national-based multi-interest panels that include Indigenous people, organized labor, environmental groups, social and faith-based organizations, affected mining communities, and each association that implements TSM on behalf of their members is responsible for establishing one of these panels in their own country to oversee the implementation of TSM. So it brings it down, brings the oversight level down to a very close level to where the impacts are actually happening. And over the years, it's grown. It started with a focus on tailings and climate change, crisis management, and Indigenous and community engagement. And now it covers 9 issues. And as I mentioned at the start of this, the most recent edition happened yesterday when our board finished what had been a 2-year project to develop a new standard on equity, diversity, and inclusion. There are 3 indicators in this standard. The first is focused on measuring corporate commitment and strategy around equity, diversity, inclusion, making sure that the corporate office, all the way up to the board, is setting the right tone and including measurable actions and plans to implement these elements and incorporate them into every aspect of the business. And then we get down to the facility level. So there is another indicator focused on advancing equity, diversity, inclusion at the facility level. So each facility needs to assign responsibilities, develop policies and procedures that address not just the hiring and human resources, but really encompass all aspects right across the operation to embed EDI into it. And then there's a third indicator focused on monitoring and reporting and performance measurement to track key performance indicators on how we are doing throughout the sites, throughout the companies, and then that rolls up into allow us to track performance across the industry. One of the features, I would say, sort of the hallmark features of this new standard is that it's very much focused on worker engagement. So it's not at every level, at the corporate level, at the site level. It's not simply management deciding how to do these. It places a very strong emphasis on engagement with a diverse range of workers to help structure all aspects of this, of the implementation of this. And it's also another aspect of this project has not just been to focus on equity, diversity, inclusion, but also to embed respectful workplaces into the standards. So we modified our safety and health protocol, which is another piece that has been part of TSM for a very long time, to shift it from sort of traditional physical safety to incorporate psychological safety and respectful workplaces. So we added a new indicator focused on this. The safety protocol itself has typically focused on establishing management commitments and accountabilities, a traditional health and safety management system, an indicator focused on training, behavior, and culture, another one on monitoring and reporting, and then another one on performance. And so what we've done with this new piece of work is to incorporate the idea of the requirements around physical safety or psychological safety and respectful behavior into the accountability and commitment, into the management system, into the training and efforts to establish a strong culture of behavior around safety, and into the monitoring and reporting. But we've also added a new indicator specifically focused on psychological safety and respectful behavior. There's many different requirements in this, but a few key pieces are to make sure that your risk assessments that you would typically do in a traditional physical safety sense are extended to all of your work facilities, including camps, to make sure that they are assessed for risks around bullying, physical violence, sexual violence, and any of the aspects that you might think of that would address or that would risk psychological safety, and build plans to address those, and then measure the progress to addressing those. There's also a new incident process that is really, I think the term that was used in it is a trauma-informed dispute resolution or incident resolution process that sits beside the physical sort of traditional investigative processes and recognizes that when you have these kinds of incidences, whether they be bullying or harassment or sexual violence, that there's a different kind of process that is needed to address those and support the victims and make sure that the behaviors are addressed appropriately. So we're very proud of this work. It was our most comprehensive process to date in terms of developing a process. We had the support of many chapters of Women in Mining. Barbara had a chance to have a review and give us some helpful comments. We had good support from Women in Mining in Central America, Women in Mining in Brazil, Women in Mining in Canada, and others, just to name a few. Had the help of many experts in this too. And I know that myself, Catherine Goslin, who held the pen on most of this for us, and others learned an enormous amount on this journey. And we're really excited to see how this can drive performance. We're inspired by the progress that BHP has made around gender equity in their workforce. It was sort of showed us that if you are able to put a plan together and measure the progress, you can make meaningful change in a relatively short amount of time. And we're hoping that by taking the inspiration from the work that BHP and others have done, and building it into a standard that's implemented across the industry, we'll see quick progress in terms of equity, diversity, inclusion across the workforce. At a very high level, there's a lot more detail that I could go into with more time. We are expecting to make an announcement, hopefully next week, formally around publishing this. And we will be looking to work with our other TSM partners to incorporate this into their versions of TSM in the coming months as well. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share with you today, and I'll yield the floor back.
Thank you so much for that, Ben. Great words and a great presentation. I'm sure all of us have many questions. Please feel free to write them in the chat. I've just noticed Erica Lee. It's great to hear that these standards are now encoding and standardizing the type of changes that we want to see. The main thing, which each speaker has kind of spoken about, is really that issue of the psychological safety of people being standardized and addressed through the mining sector. And it's really refreshing to hear that this is now being addressed quite head on. And it's encouraging for the future of mining. Now, it's time for us to put on our thinking caps. I've taken off my crown as the queen for now, and I'm putting on my thinking cap. And it's time for us to do a word cloud exercise to kind of settle in the information that we've heard so far. In the chat, you will find a link to a website. Please click on it. Would like you to type the words that come to mind when we ask you this question. In your view, where are the gaps, or where are the areas where you don't see gender inclusion efforts? Where are the gaps? In your view, where are the areas where you don't see gender inclusion efforts? Where are the gaps? So for example, maintenance or HR or communication, where in your experience do you see the gaps? Type as many words or concepts that come to mind. The more of you who participate, the more we will see the cloud develop live on screen. We'll give you a few minutes to log in. And already look at this cloud forming. Already we've got maintenance, executive board, production, remuneration. Oh, it's getting bigger and bigger. Leadership's coming in. Executive is still out there, quite pronounced. Executive is still out there. I feel like one of those people at the horse races. I wish I could talk. I do talk fast, but I wish I could talk as fast as the horse race guys, because that's how fast the clouds are is developing. Operations. All right. And I think at this point, we can probably pause and have a look at what we've got so far. So the clear winner and leader is leader and leadership, followed by executive and maintenance, it looks like on my end. All right. Well, we're definitely going to share this information, particularly on our social media websites and our emails and all of that. And so as this cloud builds throughout the talk, we'll see how it keeps going.
Yeah, power ahead.
Right. I feel as well there might be somebody who doesn't have their microphone on mute. If you could, not that I'm selfish, but I just like to be the only one talking. So if you could all please put your microphones on mute for the time being. Right. Here comes the reason why I signed up for this. This was the carrot. It is now time for my favorite thing. Who is ready? Who is with me? It is time to dance. Now, it doesn't matter if you're not ready because that's a life lesson, right? We're going to dance. That's what's going to happen. Remember, this is what we're looking at. We're looking at creativity, energy, and you better keep your camera on the whole time. So wherever you are, if you're at the office, at site with your team, alone, at home, in a bar, in a pub, I don't care. I want you to dance. Get up and show your dance moves. Now remember, everyone has the chance to win the $200 Ho Gift Gear gift card prize. $200 and just bust a couple of moves. Now, come on, who says no to that, right? So our producers, not IWIM, but the producers will be attentively watching all of you and your moves and deciding on a winner. And we'll share the name of the winner after the break. And if you want a chance to win one of the BRIM scholarships, please fill out the form on the chat. Remember that New Year's resolution? Fill out the form, lady. Fill out the form, sir. This is the last chance to be part of the Wheel of Names. All right, DJ, play that song. Come on, everybody. Putty, I can see you. Yes, girl.
Vanessa de Sevilla, Luis Scott, no vaya a nadie.
The name says Cardi.
Moi, on n'avait pas la possibilité de me voir. Je n'ai pas de caméra.
The whole boardroom is dancing. I love it. Oh, look at Noelia.
J'aimerais bien être vu par tout le monde, mais je manque de caméra.
Uno, yes, I see you. Evelyn, welcome. Karen, I know you want to. Karen Mayer, I see you. I know you want to. Oh, Sierra, you're done. This is not the time to take a break. The music's still going. Cassidy is going. Yes, yes. We've got some team members who lost in the mood for Pablo and you. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, a spotlight on Marina. Oh, yeah. Five, four, three, two, one. Excellent, ladies. Give yourself a hand. Ooh. I'm trying to make sure that I don't sweat. This is why I didn't get out of my chair. And I just don't want to ruin the glow, right? Everybody was excellent. Everybody was great. I have seen some new moves that I'm going to be copying myself. So nothing here is copywritten, I'll tell you that. Well, if you did dance, did you dance? We're going to have a little bit of a powwow just to confirm who we think bust the best moves. And congratulations to everybody for participating, for having your colorful wig. I see you, Genevieve. I see you. And for taking part. Sometimes, ladies, we just have to let loose. We just got to move the muscles and get outside of ourselves and enjoy the moment. Life is short, Let's celebrate the wins. This is a celebration. This is a happy event. So thank you for all of those who did take part. Now, the judges have made their decisions. The winner of Dance-a-thon IDWIM 2023. Mike, do we have a drum roll? But I can do the drums. Is Alicia Woods. Where's Alicia? Oh, have you focused her? Yeah. Great, great. Alicia, congratulations. Girl,
Thank
you are about to go on a shopping spree for $200 from Go Gear. I really enjoyed watching you guys. Congratulations to you, Alicia.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely, absolutely. Oh, wow. Phew. Okay, I'm exhausted and I didn't even get out of my chair. Oh my goodness. All right. But the prizes aren't over. The fun isn't over. I'd like to remind you that we still have 3 scholarships from BRIM waiting to be awarded. So last call for you to fill out the form and participate to win. See the link in the chat. Please fill out the form. That's all you have to do, right? So let's change gear for a little bit. As I said before, today is about celebration and it's also about reflection. It's about you, the women in mining industry, the ones who are getting their hands dirty and making their decisions. We would like to showcase the work done by the women in mining organizations worldwide. We've had the celebration, but now it's really time for you to reflect. And you know what? Give yourself a pat on the back. It's been 365 days since the last IDWIM, and you have done a lot. So here we go. In 2021, the International Women Alliance pioneered initiatives where they leveraged together the strength, the collective strength in pursuit of gender equality with different WIM organizations. An alliance was formed, and the Alliance's Secretariat is currently hosted by IWIM under the guidance of a steering committee of WIM organization representatives. This year, there are 3 working groups working on ensuring WIM organizations share the lessons learned and the practices leveraged and build on each other's work for greater strength and promotion of women in women's positions in the industry. So without further ado, less chat from me, more focus on you. Let's see the slideshow of the work that you guys have done in the last year. Over to you, Mike. Right. What wonderful, amazing images of women who are making the most of collaboration and promoting women locally. Now we will hear from our next keynote speaker, Ege, and the IGF mining team, who have worked on different projects with IWIM throughout the years, and we're so proud of the work that she will present today. Ege is the IGF Senior Policy Advisor, Senior Policy Advisor, Gender Equity, and it leads its work on gender and mining governance, including the development and implementation of mining-specific gender equality policies, programs, and frameworks. Ege has over 15 years of professional experience in the areas of gender equality, women's empowerment, elimination of violence against women, and social development. She has worked for numerous international organizations, including United Nations Entity for Gender Equality and the Empowerment of Women, the World Bank, the European Union, and the Council of Europe. Thank you, Ege, for being with us, and over to you.
Hello, everyone, and I'm so proud and happy to be part of this organization today. And what I will be talking about is the findings from a research project that we undertook in collaboration with numerous organizations, including IWIM, but also United Nations Development Program, International Labour Organization, and German Development Corporation Program. So it was a big project with multiple partners, and today I will be presenting you the findings from the global report that analyzed granular and gender segregated data from 12 different countries. And the link for the global report that I'm presenting now will be available in the chat box. You can click and download and read in more detail, because we have limited time today and I won't be able to go through all the details. But for more information, please read the report when you have time for this. And maybe one quick word about the IGF. IGF is an intergovernmental forum. The long name is Intergovernmental Forum on Mining, Minerals, Metals, and Sustainable Development. And as the name connotates, we work for the sustainable development in the mining sector. And we represent 80 member states, member governments who are part of the organization. So, I actually did this presentation many times before, but this is the first time that I'm delivering this presentation to the women who have been actually the main audience, should have been the main audience for this presentation. So I'm really very excited and happy to be able to share these findings with you. I'll try to ask some questions to learn about your own intuition about some of the findings that we come up with, and to understand if we really our findings, if our findings are really related to your own experience in the field. Maybe a very quick word about why we did this project. First of all, we wanted to understand what the future holds for women in the mining sector, given some major trends that are shaping the future of the sector. These trends, as we define them, were, first of all, introduction of disruptive and new technologies. And also increased demand for critical minerals, new mines, new mining techniques, new mining locations, etc., with the energy transition. And lastly, ESG requirements, the increased demand from investors to mine more responsibly and equitably. So we wanted to understand what the future holds for women in the along the ways of these trends. But for being able to understand the future, we decided that first we had to have a baseline for today, which we didn't have until we started working on this project. So this project is an important milestone that showcases data from different countries, from different geographic locations and different cultural contexts. So I will be presenting you our key findings under actually 4 main pillars. The first key finding that we had is not a big surprise, I guess. It's that women's participation in the mining workforce is indeed increasing, but at a slow pace. So this is the data that we come up with from almost every country that shows that mining is still the most masculine sector the second most masculine sector following construction, among all industries. And maybe I should also emphasize here that Laura said that the private sector likes to talk with data. So I think giving all this data, putting the data on table is very important to understand the current realities of the sector. Okay, before going to the next slide, I want to ask you a question. Please type your answers in the chat. What is the global representation of women in the mining sector, do you think? Please type in your answers, and I'm showing the results. So the finding is very diverse, actually. Women's participation in the mining workforce varies between 9% to a very high 25% in Sweden. With a word of caution here, Sweden has a very small mining sector. But especially the countries where the mining sector is big, the representation of women is relatively small. And the global percentage sits at 14%. So this is the first finding. The second finding is, despite the gradual increase, the upward trend, we see that deep structural inequalities remain in the sector. So let's talk about these structural inequalities. Okay, the first diverge that we discovered in the project is about occupation. What we see is that women in the mining sector are more dominant in some occupations, such as clerical jobs, and largely absent in others. For example, the data that you see here from Sweden shows that in Sweden, more than 70% of all clerical and administrative support workers are women. And the data on the right-hand side is from South Africa, which shows a very, very similar trend. However, when we look into technical positions, we see that women are largely absent in these technical positions. So it's a big trend. It's an important trend that shows a difference, a diverge in the sector. And before going to my next structural inequality, I want to ask your views about what's your perception about women's education in the sector? Do you think that women have higher educational attainment than men, or men have higher educational attainment than women? And secondly, do you think that women have more technical skills, or men do have more technical skills? Please feel free to type your answers in the chat. And here is the answer. This was a surprising data for us, and maybe not for you, but we saw that almost in every country that we analyzed, women have higher educational attainment than men. However, they have much less technical qualifications that are usually acquired through technical education programs or vocational training programs compared to men. And this is super important. And the main reason is because there was a question in the chat box about women in communities. And I think this is a very important finding about women in mining communities. These kind of technical qualifications help women or members of mining communities to get into easy to enter jobs that are available in mining communities. However, these are the skills that women lack the most. So this is a big challenge for women in the sector, as we found. And another important finding related to education is that although women have higher educational attainment than men, they do not necessarily have STEM-related qualifications. And even if they have STEM-related qualifications, those are mostly concentrated in fields like chemical engineering, environmental engineering, or geology. So their opportunities for hardcore mining jobs can be more limited compared to men. And one last interesting finding is from Canada. What we saw is that women in Canada have more or less similar technical, not similar, but we could say that the representation of women in STEM education is higher in Canada compared to many other countries. But still, when we looked into the data, we saw that in Canada, women with STEM degrees prefer other industries over the mining industry, despite the higher wage that the sector offers, which shows us a very important structural problem with the sector. Okay, and here is the leaky pipeline. This we always hear that there is a leaky pipeline in the mining sector, and one of the reasons that we do not have many C-suite representatives, women in these kind of roles, is because there is a leaky pipeline and we lose women along the path, which is actually true. The data is very interesting here. If you want to draw a line that shows the steepness of the curve across the 8 bars, you see that we lose women at a much more steeper rate than men. And the very granular data from Australia shows something very interesting. Here we have the 8 brackets across occupations, and we see that when they start their career around the age of 30, women represent almost 40% of all managerial positions, whereas their representation in managerial positions drops down to 10% as they age, whereas their participation in clerical and administrative jobs, it remains almost the same throughout all the 8 brackets. Oh, okay. Before the next slide, I want to ask another question. Do you think that there is a gender pay gap in the sector? Do you think that men and women are paid differently? And then if you think there is, I would like to hear about your opinions about, do you think that women with higher education, higher educational attainment do have less gender pay gap? Or, for example, women with higher wages have less pay gap? Or is it just the other way around? I would like to hear your opinions, your perceptions in the chat box, and I'm giving you the data now. What we saw is that, yes, there is a very rampant gender pay gap in the sector. And interestingly, when we looked into the further breakdown of the gender pay gap, we saw that the gender pay gap is more significant for higher paying positions and more significant when the educational attainment of women increases. It's less in low-paying jobs. So it's a very harsh reality, a very important structural problem that the sector has to deal with, has to attend to. Okay, one other issue, I mean, although this was a data project, we also had a chance to collect some qualitative data, and the qualitative data showed us actually what we already knew, that the mining sector is not necessarily the most conducive sector to women's employment. And some of the issues that women mentioned in the research, in the surveys, were that parental leave provisions were not adequate, PPEs were not properly fit for women, basic facilities and equipment were still designed for the needs of men, etc. So all these structural issues that we have been talking about have also been confirmed through our research. The third trend that we found is that global trends affecting the large-scale mining will require upskilling, reskilling, and building new skills. And there will be some specific challenges for women. I will not go into details of this slide now because of the time that we have. Please feel free to ask me any questions, but I will give you some very quick ideas. One of the issues is about redundancy. What we know is that according to the VEF report, we know that around, if I'm not mistaken, around 30% of the jobs in the mining sector will become redundant in a few years. And these jobs mostly will be from clerical and administrative positions. So as we have seen from data, women hold most of these positions. So when the jobs become redundant, there is the question of what will happen to women who are holding these jobs. Also, there is one interesting trend that we observed from Mongolia, South Africa, Canada, Australia, etc., that women's representation in, for example, drivers and machine operators is increasing. However, we also see that these are the jobs that are becoming more and more redundant. So the question is, are men jumping ship? Or is this a genuine positive trend? So these are the issues that we will try to uncover during the second phase of the project. One other thing is related to reskilling and the need for digital skills and access to digital infrastructure for being able to reskill the mining workforce. And this is a particular challenge for women in mining communities. One thing that is positive is what we see is that there will be skills transfers from other sectors that is driven by the introduction of new technologies, but also with the increased demand for critical minerals. In Argentina, for example, we saw that women's representation in the mining workforce was at 9%, whereas for the lithium mining, it was around 25%. And one of the reasons for this is because lithium mining requires different set of skills, more related to chemical engineering, and this could provide some opportunities for women. And lastly, which women? This is the last point that I want to make, the skills import. For many developing countries, the skills needed for new technologies and new mining may not be readily available in the local workforce. So the number of women working in the sector may increase. However, there is no guarantee that these women will be local women. For example, the data that we have from Ghana shows that women's representation in the sector is around 18%, whereas the participation of Ghanaian women is only 9%. So this is an important trend that we also have to address too. And lastly, the importance of data. This project was a data project, so we struggled a lot with accessing granular and detailed data and intersectional data, which was a big challenge. So I think this could be a call for governments and for the industry to collect gender disaggregated data and to publish it in an accessible way. Okay, looking ahead. I'm not going to present the slide, but I will just give you a quick overview. And I want to ask you the question. I want to roll the ball back to your field. I want to ask you, what is your perception? Do you think that future is more bright or more gloomy based on the data and the trends that I presented to you? Do you think that there is a better future for women in the mining sector, or do we have to work hard to make future more equal for women? Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, Ege. Thank you so much for that presentation. And also thank you to everybody who's participating in the chat. When Ege asked that question about the pay gap, that chat blew up. Everyone was, yes, 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 yes. So it's incredible to see that, you know, the story across the globe, it seems to have the same thread going through, looking at the issues of, you know, how structurally can we address some of these issues. Very, very insightful. Also the issue about how the education is not necessarily an indicator that, you know, of pay. We have very highly educated women in the sector, and then we've got the issue of how we, you know, the expectations of the pay and the salary gaps. So I'm sure that report, for those of you who want access to that report, there's a link in the chat and you can unpack that. And Ege, I'm sure, is open to more emails and questions if people have more information that they require. And as for IWIM, it is a pleasure to have been a part of this project. And thank you, Ege, for presenting it to us and sharing your insight. All right. Now, without further ado, we will hear from Maria Angela, who shares leadership with Christina Maras as the co-chairs of Women in Resource Management Working Group for the EGRM, that is the Expert Group on Resource Management at UNECE, or the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe. Maria will share a few words about their work and how they frame their objectives. Thank you so much, Maria. Over to you.
Maria,
if you could unmute. Hi, Maria. If you could unmute yourself. You seem to be on mute. Try the microphone icon on the left corner of your.
There we go.
There we go.
Thank you. That is Zoom 101, and I apologize. This was really, really, really unexpected. So thank you very much for this invitation. We are going to share a work that is basically a platform. So I co-chair this initiative with the awesome Christina Marras, and I want to share that we are a working group. So that means that we advance basically the objectives already set by the United Nations in the Sustainable Development Goals number 5 and 8, in particular to recognize the powerful and positive benefits of diversity and inclusion in resource management. As such, we do have resource management for a variety of things, in particular mining, because women have been an important component of resource management since the early days of humanity. I am very happy to share with you that this is a photo from the antique mines in the beautiful island of Sardinia in Italy. Most importantly, what we want to do is to raise the awareness about the need of education, financial opportunities, and equity frames to empower women to achieve more. The main objectives that we advance are in all resource management. And in particular, we have 4 in which we focus our actions. Those are mining and nuclear, oil and gas, renewables and groundwater, and government and education. And we do that through webinars, workshops, papers, and reports. The very first, there is a background noise, which is not mine. Okay, the very first action that we took in our initiative of Women in Resource Management was a webinar particularly related to women in mining, with cases from Australia and South Africa. I am just sharing this to explain and to showcase the importance that we have given to mining since the beginning. Through the years, we have published papers and engaged in the organization of panel presentations and also articles in a variety of platforms. Again, in all kind of resource management, including mining. We would like to invite you to be part of this initiative that is framed by the UNESC, the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, and the expert group in resource management. Basically, the final messages I would like to leave with the audience, along with my co-chair, Christina Marras, are that indeed, equity in mining is everyone's responsibility. We want to achieve a mindset change. And this is a quote from Sima Bauhaus, the executive director of the UN Women in 2023. Gender equality offers our best hope to bring all the Sustainable Development Goals back on track. It is both a prerequisite and a catalyst for progress across all the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Women in Resource Management is what we do. It's a platform, and we invite all of you to join. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you very much for that presentation. Look, ladies and gentlemen, we can't reiterate it enough. It is everyone's responsibility. Whoever's going out there doing research, we're all coming back to the same conclusion. And so with that, I think it's really good fodder now to get into our panel discussion. Now, for our panel discussion, we will be discussing inclusive workplace design, which is a topic that is very dear to IWM. It's a project that we've been working on in one way or another for the last couple of years. And last year, during IDWM 2022, we shared the advances about the project, and today we have even more to share with you. Here we have Sally Strohmeyer, who will moderate the discussion. Sally, are you ready for?
Yes, I am. I am unmuted.
You're unmuted.
Hello.
All right. Okay. And so if you can lead the discussion, and we'll be ready whenever you are.
Okay. Look, I'm very pleased to be here today to talk a little bit about our project. But I want to go straight into introducing our panelists because I'm conscious of the timing that we have. And I want to thank them for their time today to discuss the importance of inclusive workplace design. So please let me, you will find their full bios in the chat or via LinkedIn. But please first let me introduce Eduardo Magalhães. Please excuse my Australian accent, who's HR, IT and Supply Chain Director from Kinross Gold Corporation based in Brazil. Welcome, Eduardo. And next we have Lorenda Adjamani, Program Officer, Diversity, Equity and Inclusion from the International Council on Mining and Metals based in Ghana. Thank you, Lorenda, for your participation and welcome.
Thanks, Sally.
So before we start talking with the panel, if you have any questions, just like we have throughout the session today, please include them in your chat. We will ensure that they are passed on to the panelists and we will endeavour to answer all your questions after the event. And if you've got any other great inclusive workplace design best practice examples or any other insights that you wish to share, please include them in the chat because it will be really valuable for our research. First, I'm going to give you a brief introduction about our inclusive workplace design project. As Ruvi said, it was designed by International Women in Mining as a multi-stakeholder initiative that aims to provide the industry with guidelines and frameworks through which organisations can ensure retention and inclusion of all its workers. New technological advances like the telephone or computers were quickly absorbed and normalised among work streams throughout the world. However, incorporating women's changing rooms and toilets, menstruation, pregnancy, lactation, menopause, pregnancy, parental leave, changes to shift design and flexibility, and much more has proven difficult, been ignored, or just not seen as priority. It is not that women's inclusion in the workplace is difficult or inconvenient, but it does imply a certain disruption to business as usual practices, which has proven difficult to embrace. Inclusive workplace design refers to the process of establishing an infrastructure and culture that provides workers in safe work environments, both physically and psychologically, which we have been talking a lot about today. Adopting inclusive workplaces also minimises the risks of gender-based violence. So put simply, it's about providing a sense of belonging for everyone, and that includes all genders, ethnicities, age, sexuality, just to name a few, and no one feeling like they need to change who they are to fit in. So the Inclusive Workplace Design research team consists of 19 volunteer researchers around the world searching for best policies and practices of large-scale mining companies across the continents. The research scope focuses on 9 identified inclusive workplace design topics, and I'll just list these topics briefly. The first one, safety and personal protective equipment, procurement and supply chain. 2, shift design, fly in, fly out and remote work. 3, family leave and childcare. 4, menstruation, pregnancy, adoption, miscarriage, fertility, lactation and menopause. 5, new technologies, digital transformation and automation. 6, mental health and well-being. 7, changing rooms and toilets. 8, office, mine, camp and plant physical infrastructure, including access, lighting and security. And 9, neurodivergence and ability. The project will identify and share innovative and practical solutions to these areas to improve workplaces for improved performance and well-being of all people in mining. So on that note, I would like to start our questions with the panel, and I'm going to ask you to stick to about 2 minutes for each question so we can have an opportunity to cover those broad range of questions. But with the first question, I'm going to ask a general question to both of our panelists in 1 minute or less. What does inclusive workplace design mean to you? Eduardo, would you like to start?
Hi, everyone. Good day. First, it's a pleasure to join here today, and thank you very much for this opportunity to share some thoughts and experiences. In my view, IWD means to create an environment where you feel comfortable, because we need to feel both physically and psychologically comfortable speaking. We need to see and recognize ourselves in that environment, and we need to, needs to look like familiar and embracing for us. So we bring that belonging feeling. It's very hard to want to get the place that you don't recognize yourself there. You can express the best of you as a person and as a professional in there.
Thank you. And Lorenda, what does inclusive workplace design mean to you?
Thank you, Sally, and happy International Women's Day to everyone. I'm very glad to join today's celebrations. So to me, inclusive work design considers the physical, economic, and well-being needs of all individuals from diverse backgrounds, ability levels, skill sets, and perspective. And this includes being considerate of these needs for current workers and also potential workers, such that our workplaces are inclusive of them and their lived experiences. We know that inclusive workplaces and community fosters creativity, innovation, and the collaboration we need to solve the industry's problems now and also for the future. And we do understand that they are more productive and profitable due to the varied perspective they bring in problem solving. More importantly, I believe that inclusive design affords everyone a fair chance and fair treatment to participate in the industry and also to leverage the opportunities that the industry provides them. One example I would give is BHP's Muka Ore car repair shop, which was redesigned to reduce shuttle and overhead crane use, thereby eliminating the need for specialist technical qualification while still maintaining safety. What that did was to open up employment opportunities at this shop for the diverse talent within the local Muka Ore community.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. All right. Eduardo, what are you doing at your mining operations towards creating a more inclusive workplace for everyone? And can you provide some day-to-day examples of inclusive workplace design that has been implemented at your site?
Yeah, sure. First, let me tell a little of our history here. When we started with this journey on increasing the diversity on our workforce and recognized it's very important to us, one thing that I have asked is so we can do a real thing, a real change, and more than like speaking about it is like making it happen. And so the leadership on making it happen is very important, but the management part of it, having like goals and objectives and pursuing them and executing them is very important. So at our Purkett 2 operation, we had the last couple of years, we had like record-breaking years in terms of hiring of women. And then for a couple of years in a row, which really make us think about the current facilities we used to have there back at the time. And then we start doing like more, work in the community and create like training for industrial maintenance exclusively for women for 12-month paid training and them hiring them. And we did like have mobile truck, our first affirmative hiring more 18 women, and then realized that the number of women are really increasing, and we had to think about our facilities because they were not prepared for that amount of women, right? So we start looking for like changing rooms, for instance. They are disproportionate by the number of women and males we have working in there. So we need to expand the feminine part of it by a large amount, and then look for our restrooms or toilets. Everything had to be changed, and very important here is having the listening, active listening to the diversity groups, because we learn from them, not from our male perspective, that we need to put like feminine pads, we need to put like hygienic showers, and we have started doing those things. The last one we opened it last week 2 breastfeeding facilities at site, and there are 1 more to come. So I think those changes were very well cheerful by the woman there, and I think those things make it like more visible, and they can realize that we're really doing things towards it.
Yes, and we were talking the other day as well, Eduardo, about how these things were always needed before, but the women didn't feel like they were in that space to bring it forward and to raise this. And now that they're in that space now where they're making that awareness known, and that these changes can then occur in the workplace, which is really good to see. Yeah,
exactly.
Yes. Lorenda, ICMM has recently released guidance on the social and economic reporting, where companies will be required to annually report on their workforce across gender, age, and other indicators of diversity to achieve a better understanding of fair participation of all within the workforce. Are companies ready for this? And how do you see this compulsory reporting will lead to improved inclusion and diversity?
Thanks, Sally. So to set the context, ICMM members represent 1/3 of the mining industry. And as a condition of membership, the mining principles set expectation for ethical practice on key issues such as human rights, the environment, and social performance, and others. To enforce these expectations, members are required to self-assess, obtain site-level external validation, and also disclose. This 3-step process drives improvements in performance with regards to maximizing the industry's benefits to its people and also to communicate. Now, with the social and economic reporting framework, what it does is to provide standardized indicators that will enable stakeholders, including investors, governments, local communities, and also employees, assess and compare the social and economic contributions of their companies with a gender and ethnicity lens. And this is because, in addition to reporting on workforce composition, companies will report on pay equity, wage level, training, education, and skill supports, among others. All of these indicators are required to be disaggregated by gender and ethnicity as far as possible, with the principle that transparency is a key part of the progress we need to make our workplaces more inclusive. We push for disaggregating the data to ensure that stakeholders can get a snapshot of the progress companies are making on gender and increasing representation. We also wanted to enable them track progress over time and hold companies accountable to their commitments on these issues.
Yes, I see it's really important having that out transparent, the actual numbers, having that motivation, and then the self-assessment and the tracking to keep on progress with with those goals and publishing those results will really assist with inclusive workplace design initiatives to aid that diversity. Eduardo, this is a topic that has been mentioned a little bit throughout today, and that's about the digital transformation, automation and innovation programs that are in this industry to boost performance and reduce costs. How will this provide opportunities for increased female participation, and what support is needed to make this happen?
Well, we need to consider that digital transformation and the level of automation in the mining business is increasing a lot, and this is a reality, right? What I believe is there's a potential to increase female participation because it reduces the physical demands, diversify the required skills, and offers remote work options, promote gender diversity initiatives, and change perceptions on the entire industry. Those advancements, they create opportunities for women to enter, for instance, technical roles, the STEM, and contribute their expertise in technology and data analysis and beneficial, flexible work arrangements, I would say. However, it's important to address systemic barriers and biases to ensure equal access to mining in the industry and for their career progression as well. On top of that, I would say that it's like a battle inside a battle, because automation, the path we have ahead will be very challenging for everyone in terms of like their workspace.
Yes. It's really getting what the report previously was talking about, getting those technical skills up as well in that area with women, and getting them in that training to participate in this new area that mining is going into. Thank you. I'm going to ask another question to you, Eduardo, and that's your view on leading gender diversity practices being embedded in the industry's culture in the same way as safety, sustainability, and Indigenous and local inclusion. Do you think that it is embedded in the industry's culture in the same way as these other topics?
Well, maybe because we're lagging behind the other industries in terms of gender diversity, as shown in the research recently. I think the mining industry has made a lot of progress and is improving a lot the topic of the gender diversity, but it still faces like challenge to fully embed the practice in the culture, while like safety, sustainability, and local communities inclusion are more deeply ingrained, I would say. It will require like additional attention, and I think the most of things that we need to comply with is strong leadership commitment, have clear policies and targets, training and awareness. I think this is cornerstone to me. People need to understand what it is and make it happen. Mentorship and sponsorship programs, I think, are a good way to improve it. And as I say, listen to the people, and transparent reporting as well would help.
Yes, definitely. That training and education across the whole workforce will definitely improve, and the culture in that space. And lastly, I know we're running out of time, so I'm just going to go straight to our last question to both of our panelists. And Lorenda, I'll start with you first. What do you see as the hurdles that may impact the success of creating inclusive workplace environments? And what do you think is needed to overcome them?
I'll say the industry is certainly on the right path with prioritizing D&I over the past few years. And we did see that with ICMM's DI updates to the mining principles, and even in today with the TSM standards on EDI. And however, we have a perception problem where the industry needs to attract the type of talent that it needs to remain sustainable. So, for example, in a survey by the Mining Industry Human Resources Council of Canada, 70% of 15 to 30-year-olds said that they would probably or definitely not consider a career in mining, which lays emphasis on the need for the industry to prioritize inclusion of diverse people. And if women and young people, and also other people in different minority groups are looking to enter the industry, we need to demonstrate that it is open and also accommodating to their needs. Essentially, people cannot be what they cannot see in their workplaces. There are also some regional and local nuances with legislation, with access that can be barriers to progress. And those can be addressed through collaboration with stakeholders and also co-creation with underrepresented groups. At ICMM, we mitigate these by inviting external voices and stakeholders into the work that we do, one of which is IWIM. And we have brought these groups together to support the development of a new collective commitment, which will set out clear expectations and outcomes for companies on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Just to conclude, at the core of it, it's imperative that we make our workforces more inclusive, not just with physical infrastructure, but also from a policy and culture change perspective, such that we improve the experience of all workers, women, every single worker, and because diverse workforces and communities are essential, they are critical to the industry realizing its full potential for the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, part of our research project as well is looking at the legislation and policies, the national legislation and standards, and then comparing that with the policies of mining companies. And I can say for the research to date is showing that in a lot of times mining is exceeding those legislation. But yes, we certainly are in other countries where you've got that legislation that is holding it back, that you have to address that first. So I am really, I have to apologise, I'm being pushed to wrap this up. We've really run out of our time, and I had so many good questions for the panellists that I wanted to get through, but we're going to have to wrap it up now. I want to really sincerely thank our panel today for their time and insights into this very important topic. And I think we can all agree that if we improve inclusive workplace design, gender diversity will naturally follow. So we also acknowledge that we have work ahead of us, but we are certainly aware of it, and we're all willing to make that change. So thank you so much, Lorenda and Eduardo, today for joining us for our very quick panel discussion. And I look forward to talking to you later. Thank you.
Thank you, Elsa.
Thank you so much, Sally, for being the hostess with the mostess and juggling, juggling the panel. Thank you, Lorenda and Eduardo for those insightful comments into the industry. Yeah, there's a lot to take through from that. And of course, in the chat, everybody else has commended this on a great discussion. And of course, without further ado, for the sake of efficiency and the program, I'll get on to the more practical fun stuff as part of the celebration. Just as an announcement, IWIM has got the personal protective equipment directory now available on its website. And this directory is basically gathering all the designers who cater towards the female body with the proportions and the specific needs that we require as women. So a link will be put to that PPE directory in the chat. And as we now move on, what we promised, back to that New Year's resolution, who's ready to find out if they are winning that scholarship? Michael, are you ready with our Wheel of Fortune for scholarships? Now there's going to be 3 winners there. Look, everybody here, they're ready. Everyone is ready. Me. People are in the chat ready for this. And just to remind you that the scholarship, it's one of 3 scholarships to the BRIM Mining Education at the University of British Columbia's Executive Micro Certificate in Economic Leadership. And of course, you got to be here in order to win the prize. Right. Okay, here we go. And turning. There's a lot of names. Everybody's out there turning. Everybody's here waiting for this. And the winner is Madeline LaRue for the first prize. Madeline, are you here?
I am so here.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
No, you got to be in it to win it. So the first scholarship goes to you, Madeline. Congratulations to you. All right, Michael, let's spin that wheel one more time. It's spinning. Well, second time. Let's go. There's one other lady who's going to be a winner. I cannot wait. I'm a geek, so anything education just really turns my gears. I love this. Where has the wheel landed? Trisha Naikia. Is Trisha here?
Yeah, hello.
Hi, Trisha, congratulations. See, it pays to stay, yeah?
Thank you so much.
Congratulations on that scholarship. Can't wait to have you take the pictures and see you getting started on that. All right, Michael, let's spin that wheel one more time. We've got, I sense a name with a surname will win. Very generic. It's spinning. Tebogo Gail Koi. Is Tebogo here?
Yeah.
Hello, Tebogo. Congratulations. How does it feel to be the third and final winner?
That feels exciting, eh?
You know what? It pays to stay, it pays to win, it pays to be in the game. Thank you so much for participating, ladies. Congratulations to all the winners. And now that we've come to the end of our celebration, I really hope that you all enjoyed yourselves. I'd like to give my thanks to our campaign ambassador for her wonderful words of wisdom. Mpumi Zikalala, thank you for her support and dedication. I'd also like to thank our guest speakers, Laura Tyler, Ben Chalmers, Mel Cooper, Maria Angela, Sally Stroheimer, Eduardo Magales, and Lorenda Adzomani. Thank you to our sponsors, Sandvik, World Gold, Council, I Am Gold, New Gold, Kinross, Albemarle, Brim from UBC, Hatch, Centerra Gold, Centra Asia Metals, Eldorado Gold, Weir Esco, Kogia, and Betchel. To the IWIM team, the production team, the translators behind the scenes, everybody who's done all this work and the sleepless nights and furious typing that's been happening. Thank you all for that work. And finally, thank you to every single person here, men and women who joined to celebrate International Day of Women in Mining. We know a lot of you are celebrating locally, so please share your events and activities. Continue the conversation with us on social media or email. Would love to know how you celebrated your IDWM 2023. In closing this, I'd like to share a photo slide of all the achievements that you guys have done in this year. Thank you. Have a great day, a great afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you are in the world. I shall be having wine. Pick your vice. I've picked mine. Have a lovely evening, everybody.
To say I like it. Girl, is this my boo? That's why I'm asking you, cause you know I've been through. Am I ready? Am I ready? What you talking about? Am I ready? Figure it out to be loved, to be loved. Am I ready? Serve it now, cause I want it. That's what I'm talking about. Am I ready? Figure it out to be loved, to be loved. You found me, I was fed up with the fantasy. What you wanna do? Think I'm ready? Ooh, think you like that? Think you like that? When I clap back like that, let me know. You found me, I was fed up with the fantasy. What you wanna do? Think I'm ready? Ooh, think you like that? Think you like that? When I clap back like that, let me know. Am I ready? Am I ready? What you talking about? Am I ready? Figure it out to be loved, to be loved. Am I ready? Serve it now, 'cause I want it. That's what I'm talking about. Am I ready? Figure it out to be loved, to be loved. Am I ready? Yesterday I would have run away, and I don't know why. I don't know why, no why. Yesterday I would have run away, and I don't know why. I don't know why, but I'm ready.
I had a bad week, spent the evening pretending it wasn't that deep. You could see in my eyes that it was taking over. I guess I was just blind and caught up in the moment. You know you take all of my stress right down, help me get it off my chest and out into the ether with the rest of this mess that just keeps us depressed. We forget that we're here right now, cause we're living life at a different pace, stuck in a constant race. Keep the pressure on, you're bound to break. Something's got to change. We should just be cancelling all our plans and not give a damn if we're missing out on what the people think is right. Seeing through a picture behind a screen and forget to be, lose the conversation for the message that you'll never read. I think maybe you and me, oh, we should head out to the place where the music plays, and then we'll go all night, just stepping with a woman I love. All my troubles standing up, and when I'm in your eyes, electrified. We'll keep turning up and go all night. And we had dips and falls in our time, but we know what it feels to be low then up, alone then love. And all we need is us to go all night, night. Just stepping with a woman I love. Night, yeah. All we need is us. What do you reckon? Is it just me? Words are weapons and occasionally they cut deep. Crisis of confidence, it tends to come when I feel the dark and I open my heart. If you don't see it, you should trust me. I feel like I got nothing left right now, except this beauty in her dress right now. She got me feeling like the best, and the rest are just less than she needs. So we press play and step